So you just use that.
This field doesn't make sense.
They just plug this in.
Oh, yes.
So they can hear it. And I take it that the instructor is listening to your tone.
Okay,
through the
time
Zoom.
seat. Okay, thanks for coming along. And just to clarify, this is forum night. This is not a presentation night. We had a few changes, and can I just let you know that there are a few more changes coming. So we've had a few timing clashes. So watch this space, and we'll send out some communication around what's happening. And g'day to Darren and John Hall, who's a new member, a recent new member. So hello and welcome, John. And Matt, M-A-T, and a shady character called Hayden. Ham Radio DX. So tonight, forum night. Favourite digital mode. Now we're going to mix it up a little bit here, and we want you to give us two things. One is your favourite digital mode and your least favourite digital mode. So have a think, and along with that we want obviously why it's your favourite and your least favourite, so the good, the bad, the ugly, and where do you use it. So is it things like I don't know, propagation check, ragchewing, contesting, whatever. So, and any other comments you'd like to add in. So who would like to go first?
I can go first.
Okay. Hayden.
My favourite digital mode is FT8. But there is a reason though, is because I use it for its original purpose, and that was for 6 meters. It's good because it's quick, so it's good for the short openings that are on 6 meters. I haven't quite moved over to FT4. There's lots of activity on FT8, so you always know when the band's open somewhere else. I've used all other digital modes, like Whisper, for the same sort of purposes for propagation, but Whisper took 2 minutes, and in 6 meters, with 6 meters, the propagation can be gone, and it's not a contact mode Whisper. It's a propagation mode. So I find it handy for that. Use it on HF as well, obviously, like everyone does. And my most hated digital mode is DMR, because it's confusing. You got code plugs, they make no sense whatsoever, and yeah, they're just not very beginner friendly. It sounds terrible. Where else I can keep going?
It's starting to sound like my dad.
Oh no! Why does he hate DMR as well? Does he?
Well, it doesn't like change.
No, it's not change. It's terrible, and it's been implemented terribly for amateur radio as well. So Fusion, I think, is easier, but I mean, there's other easier digital modes, but yeah, DMR's just.
It does sound a bit like you're talking underwater.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
A little bit. Anyway. Cool. Okay. Fantastic. Who's next? Rex. Right.
Okay, well, I'll start by saying my least favourite digital mode is CW.
Back, easy, Lance, easy.
Yeah, loud.
and I'll tell you a little story. I originally got a Z call, and then I struggled to learn CW. In those days, you had to do 14 words a minute. I think the tester must have been very lenient, but somehow got my full call. I then applied to the PMG for my full call license, and it turned up, and I went on 80 metres and called CQ, and some guy came back to me, and I gradually froze and said, send more slowly, until he was sending dits about 15 seconds long and DARs about a minute long. And I was so embarrassed that I never used CW until until EME came, and the only way I was able to use it is the version WSJT-10 used to allow you to send a CW, and for EME, if you've already done a SCED, you know what the guy's call sign is, and you know your own call sign, so all you've got to do is distinguish whether they're sending RRR or RO or 73, which I could get by with, but I found that even that was difficult, and often I would complete a QSO because on CW my call sign with M and O sounds like OO report. It can break up into an RO report, and when they see the 7 as well, they think, oh well, we've completed the QSO, and I still haven't got past the first step. Now, this is for the things that my favourite I'm going to build up to, because I've had so many favourites. I did play around with PSK 31 when I first got back into hammer radio on HF, which is a mode that allows you to basically transmit any message you like. It's not constrained like WSJT to call signs and report. But because that was mainly a HF mode and I was a VHF and above person, I was looking for I was looking to improve my system performance for meteor scatter on 2 meters. And the first mode I came across was Hellschrieber. And in fact, the fast version of Hellschrieber. Hellschrieber basically prints out a 7x5 dot matrix like this. And it actually transmits 2 lines, so that if you're not in sync in terms of time, gradually runs off the screen, but the next lines come up. So you just look at the next line. And with meteors, you get a little burst, and a bit later you get another burst, and you say VK3, and then a bit AXH or something. And that worked pretty well. Now, I was in contact with a guy in the States, Shelby Innes, and he was interested in developing it into a more constrained computer-based mode. And he actually paid a Romanian student who was an IT student to write a program to do functionally what he wanted. Now, we played around with that on Meteor Scatter, and it worked, but it was a pretty clunky interface and so forth. And Shelby said to me, I found a guy who reckons he can make a much better digital mode. And I sort of, Americans, roll my eyes. And this guy...
Change, really.
And this guy...
all of our Americans.
And this guy was Joe Taylor.
Yes, okay.
And he could make a much better digital mode. For those who are not aware, Joe Taylor is a Nobel Prize winning radio astronomer and mathematician. I was then involved right from the start with Joe Taylor in the development of FSK 441 for Meteor Scatter. And I actually, back in 2003, wrote an article for CQ magazine on using Joe Taylor's mode. And that started a sort of a relationship with Joe where I would test things and he'd send me stuff. The next mode he sent me was JT44. Now this was suitable for EME, but if the signals were weak, it sort of built up like an average. And it might take well, I went out to Lord Howe Island, and I worked a couple of stations EME, and by the time the average had built up, it might take, for the first part of the QSR, it might take half an hour, and the next part, and I was out there with Trevor Spargo, and he wanted to operate HF, and of course if he'd operate HF, it got into his antenna was almost in mine, and ruined my average. So it did work, and that was just with a 910 and a small 10 element Yagi, and I worked up about 3 or 4 stations. It actually worked in 30-second periods rather than what is normal on digital modes today, typically is 60-second periods. Then came along JT65, which was 60-second periods, and it was also a more efficient mode, and it was constrained to call signs and reports, and that made EME quite viable for single Yagi stations on 2 meters and so forth. Somewhere a bit later, of course, FT8 came along, and while I did enjoy it, I mean, you call CQ on 6 meters and you have 30 Japanese calling you all at once, and I thought, I don't need to be in the middle of all this. So it never really grabbed me. The next mode that came along was QRA64, which was an improvement over JT65 by about 1 dB. And I did a fair bit of EME and sort of digital records on terrestrial at 10 gigs across to Western Australia. And then Joe introduced a mode called FST4. Now, not many people have used FST4. It was designed for HF, and it is actually the most sensitive of all the modes, all the digital modes in Joe's suite. It's probably the most sensitive of all modes, although some modes run for hours on average and get better sensitivity. FST4, you can actually transmit in 1800 seconds, which is half-hour blocks. And Richard and I used it for light between his place and mine, and he backed off the current so that he had a LED that you couldn't even see that it was lit. And it's an online sight pass, just scattering off the clouds. And we were getting decodes. The other mode that I do enjoy is Q65, which I use for the 1296 QSO party up to Launceston. QS65 has got the advantage over FST4 by that, while it's not as sensitive, it copes much better with spreading of the signals, such as you get on troposcatter or EME in particular. Now I have to decide what is my favourite mode, and I'd have to say I think it's FST4 because it really makes the optical stuff really hum. And the other big advantage of it is its total bandwidth is only transmitting in 5 minute periods is only 2.2 hertz. And for your optical stuff, where you've got all these birdies at 50 and 60 hertz all across the band, you can find a space that's quite clear between all those birdies. Now, you can run it, of course. We normally run it at 300 seconds, 5 minutes, and that's been very effective between here and Georgetown on near infrared. If you are prepared to wait the 1800 seconds, it'll actually work down to minus 45 dB. For those reasons, it's the most sensitive. It's designed for LF, where you don't get much spreading, but it also works on optical, even though it's a much higher frequency, because you're actually transmitting baseband and you don't get any spreading. So FST4 becomes my favourite mode. Thank you.
Love it. Thanks, Rex. That's excellent and good history. Very good history. Now we've got a few put in. Darren, VK4GEO, APRS and an FT8. Now I assume that's best and worst. So we've got just clarify that, Darren, if that's not right. We've also got David Goodrick, 7 DMG on the stream, who's got brand spanking new eyes these days. So he's had his cataracts removed, so he's seeing much clearer. And Colin in VK, my favourite digital modes are FT8, FT4, C4 FM, and JS8 call. So what's your least favourite, Colin? Put that in the. I don't hate DMR, just wish a few would check their audio levels on that mode, because some have it the mic gain up way too high. And evening to Ron, VK7RM. Who wants to go next? Lance.
Well, I'll go next because Rex actually. No, it's not what you're thinking. I'm not going to talk about CW because that's obvious. But what I want to talk about is Hellschrieber, which Rex alluded to. And so I'll come back to in a second. But so there's the original mechanical Hellschrieber, which I'll talk about, and then obviously there's modern computer implementations or software implementations of it. The reason that I think it's amazing is just it was generated mechanically, and it was just such an elegant system for what it was. So I think we think of digital modes now where a character is generated, something, it's sent, and that character is decoded on the other side. Whereas Hellschrieber doesn't work that way. Hellschrieber works as a fax machine over things. So I've come with a prop, that's right. And so effectively, Hellschrieber is a fax machine over CW. So it's just an on-off carrier mode. And it works on the basis of a 7 by 7 meter grid per character. And it just basically will send no carrier, like on a timed regular intervals, no carrier, no carrier, 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 no carrier, 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 carrier. And so it does that in that order, right? But the beauty is that you don't need any synchronization between my machine over here and another machine on the other side of the world. The other side of the Western Front, shall we say.
We're talking 1920s here.
That's right. It was invented in the 1920s by a German chap.
1927 by Rudolf Hell.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And like and the most popular mode now is Field Hell, which was basically when these things were produced into small cabinets that were field radios during the Second World War, used by the Germans and the Swedes. I don't know if there were many others that were using them. Where was I getting at? Yeah, that's right. And so the way that they generated the letters to start with is there was a keyboard and there was a motor spinning really fast. And who knows the little music boxes? That little ballerina that spins? And there's a tumbler, there's a cylinder in there, and that's got little pins.
Yeah,
and that
plays the tuners.
That's right. And so there was basically one of these tumbler type things, and every letter, to be able to, put the little lines, every letter had its own little section on this tumbler, and that would then activate something which would then set the carrier on and off. So all mechanical, And then on the other side, you had this little print spool that was spinning really, really fast, and every time it detected a carrier, it would just print. And so again, it's not sending the letter, it's just sending a facsimile of what went in. And so at the time, like when you were using the keyboard, you could only obviously send shapes that were pre-defined with the typewriter and what was on these spools. But now with software, of course, we can send anything that fits in a 7x7 grid, whether it's space aliens or, rocket ships or
Troll face.
Sorry?
Troll face.
Or troll faces, that's right. And so, so the inbuilt error correction in it, that, as Rex said, it didn't matter if your timing was off. People could still read it. If your phase was off and your lines came at an angle, you could still read it. And again, people would read it. So even now, like when you see two signals over the top of each other, it's basically two images superimposed, and so you can still get a reasonable idea of what's being sent. Anyway, so I really like it just for its elegance. I just think things that you can bring all the way back to a mechanical system that can send a facsimile is wonderful. As for my least favourite, FT8. I haven't done every digital mode, so maybe there's ones I like less. I don't have an issue with FT8 from a technical perspective. I just tried it and it didn't excite me at all. It didn't do anything for me. It didn't float my boat. So that's me.
Great. Thanks, Lex.
This
I
is
love it.
carrier on, carrier off. It's sort of like CW.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, it's digital. Tell the truth. It's on or off. Yeah. I absolutely love it. And now there was I'm trying to remember the guy's name. The Secret Life of Machines.
Oh yes.
Which was an ITV or BBC. BBC, and the guy did the fax machine. And the way he did the fax machine was he had great big long bits of paper with brooms that he had inked, and somebody else was sending him the signal, so he was putting the broom down and lifting it in a time to demonstrate what a fax machine actually does. Yes, Brian Hunkin, I think it was his name, but anyway, look up Secret Life of Machines. Very similar. Very similar. Fantastic. Thank you, Lance. Who's next? Come on, Harry, go.
Well, I'm going to start with my least favourite, and that's APRS. I tried to set it up in one of my radios. No, didn't have a single chance of getting it working whatsoever. So I gave up on that. Didn't like it. Yeah, the only way I can get it working is by transmitting the sound from my phone into the radio that way. Not going to work, so I don't really bother with APRS at all. However, I know one or two people don't really like the mode much, but I'm a keen digital voice fan. DMR. I'm soon to play with P25 as well. So, and to make sure that works smoothly, in case the repeater goes down or if I can't reach the repeater, I've got myself a nice little hotspot as well. So, and that's set for both DMR, and I've recently updated it to use P25 on it, so when the radio comes, it's there ready to go. Beautiful quality, I find. Generally, my opinion of digital voice is it depends on what radio you've got and depends on the setup of the system. And as far as code plugs and that go, it depends on how you plan to set that code plug up as well, and what your knowledge is of it to set it up for the radio to read and understand and know what it needs to what needs to work on the radio. Because the radio doesn't know what channels or what torque grips you want. You've got to tell it what torque grips you want. So it's again, I'm speaking from experience. I've used DMR for a number of years now, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Another mode is Meshtastic. Absolutely love that, and I've got it set up so I can just, it's a plug and play system. I've got 2 nodes. This is my base node, which normally sits at home, and I've got a nice little portable one as well, which I can take out on the road with me. I can sit in my backpack while I'm at work. If I'm out on the road, I can just have that turned on in the backpack, and it can do a bit of Meshtastic while I'm driving, without me touching the device, of course, because it's Bluetoothed to my phone or iPad. Yeah, it would be nice to, when I finish a drive or whatever, to see what nodes I pick up. You never know. Oh. Other than that, yeah, that's my likes and dislikes on digital. Oh, also on my likes is FT8, because I find that FT8's good for seeing how well propagation is as well, and also seeing where you're going, where your signals are going overall as well, which is quite nice as well. Other than that, that's me there, Justin.
Thanks, Harry. We've got a few more. Richard Savage, who is ZL4ES. Q65 is excellent on 2 metre Auroral scatter.
Yes.
So, thought you'd like that one, Rex. Darren's added the most hated mode for him, his VK4GEO, is DMR, as I got my first DMR HG yesterday.
Sounds like I might need to do a training video on DMR. I think.
We shouldn't tell him anything gets worse, should we?
Yeah, no, don't tell him. And Colin has added his least favourite, which is DSTAR, only because the setup compared with others. And Colin,
hello.
Colin, can I just say I am with you on that one. I got my 705. Which is DSTAR capable. I then looked at setting it up. There are 2 manuals that come with the 705. The first manual is all about the functionality in the 705, and the second manual, which is a thicker manual, is about the DSTAR setup.
Oh,
And I got halfway through it and went, you know what? I'm just going to give up.
I think the DSTAR side, the hardest part is the registration, because it has to be all manually approved. Once you get it approved, and I try to get my head around it, you've got to get it approved in the area that's closest to your repeater or hotspot that you're going through. So it's like Victoria for us. So it got approved, and then I think once you put your call sign in and everything, and it just works. But you read the manual, and there's just so much stuff that just doesn't make sense in the manual.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with
do
that.
that.
But because I registered, and then I started setting up the radio, and I just went, this is too hard. This is just too hard. But people have done it, and you can buy an ICOM handheld, an ID52 or whatever it is, and it comes almost pre-configured. So there's easier ways of doing it. Anyway, I'm with you on that one, Colin. Matt, MOT, 7 MOT, RTTY and FT8 are my favourite. DMR my least due to the audio. Dave Simpson, VK7 ACE, favourite is RTTY and Slow Scan TV. So we haven't had one of those yet, maybe. No least favourites yet until I've tried them all. Okay, righto. Cool. Who's next?
Okay.
Dave, go.
So my 2, I actually like all digital modes on HF. I think they're all damn good. My 2 favourites out of them, and a third one coming up, is Olivia and JS8 Call, which I find, you can have longer conversations, QSAs with them, absolutely brilliant until the sky falls out or whatever. And another one which I know it's an oldie, is FreeDV.
I'm glad someone mentioned it.
I've heard about that.
And so I have been toying playing with it for the last week or so, I know from what I'm receiving from other people that it's going to be an excellent thing. But at the moment, I'm just not able to get a signal out for some reason. Even though I can see everything happening on the 7300, and it looks like it's sending out.
The waterfall and all that, yep.
Unless it's a timing thing or something, which I'm in the process of researching to see
Okay.
what I'm doing right.
What was the mode called?
FreeDV.
FreeDV.
So David Rose, digital voice mode.
On HF, isn't it?
HF primarily, yeah.
You're receiving 3dB as well?
And can I just say, you can get a signal through with next to nothing.
Yeah.
We had a Gibbs Tech demonstration where he kept pairing it back and pairing it back and pairing it back and still receiving coherent voice. There's a lot of things that you can do with the voice, which is what he was talking about, with all the little artifacts in voice that don't need to be there. They can be added later, post the decode. So it's interesting, fascinating.
It is.
Bit of
I'm
technology.
very enjoying playing with that one.
Cool. I'm glad you mentioned it, though. That's excellent.
And the one I hate is JSA call, just because it seems to be a mess when you're trying to find signals there. At least when I'm receiving, you're only getting bits and pieces, and someone else will drop over the top of them and block them out all of a sudden. It just seems a mess to me. But again, whether I've got the setup right or wrong, I don't know. But I spent a couple of months playing with it and got bored. Yeah.
Okay. You're ahead of me. I haven't even played with it. That's what David Brunet was using, I think, when he was down south.
Down south?
Yeah. Because he kept sending me screenshots, and I'm looking at this screenshot going, what the? Because it just didn't make sense. Yeah. Half of it was in French, but that was another story. But yeah, just okay. Okay, cool. Thanks, David. VK. Oh, ZL4. Ken. ZL4 KNZ. KE. DMR if you use a high quality radio such as the top model Taits.
New Zealand.
They love those Taits, the Kiwis.
So yeah.
I didn't know Tait was high quality.
Well, hey, a lot of the emergency services are using them, so hey,
Yeah.
they've got to be reasonable. And we've got Chris, VK7 CDW online as well. So who's next? Steve.
Right. I should start by saying that SSTV is not a digital mode. And that's because it was always in an analog mode from the start, so that's not counted. So my least favourite digital mode going back a few years was FT8. From the point of view that I only tried it on, say, 80 or 40 or 20 and a number of years ago, and there was just so much stuff there that you couldn't pick anything out. So I thought, no, I don't like that, and put it aside. Since then, I've improved my logging. I have an electronic log, I have electronic QSLing, I have got a decent antenna on 6 metres. Suddenly, FT8 is more interesting. So it becomes my favourite mode, digital mode. And as well as, and beyond that, so on 6 metres, for instance, when it's open, you can get a pile up in Japan, no trouble at all, which is a lot of fun, really. And you're sitting there and you're sweating yourself while trying to work all these Japanese stations, and there's just 3 or 4 of them that go all the time. But it's a lot more fun when you can work something that's pretty unusual. And Tricky's worked, where have you worked? Europe and Israel, somewhere like that.
Yeah,
so
I've worked on.
they're the interesting ones. I haven't quite got that far yet, but I'm hoping to do that soon. So, so FT8's become a better mode by having a better setup and better equipment. But and things like APRS, I like that, it's fun. But APRS is something that's there. You don't play with it all the time. It's just there. You know, it's more like a utility than anything. It's not really a mode from my point of view of using it. But yeah, so So that's me. So FT8's my worst, my least favourite, and my most favourite.
Okay. But by the sounds of it, based on the frequency it's being used on.
Yeah. So I mean, the other thing too is more recently with the ADX QRP radios on 40 metres. It's a lot of fun. It's a load of fun.
Okay. Cool. Thanks, Steve. That's excellent. Who's next?
Okay. So I don't really work any digital modes very much. I've tried FT8, probably got less than 100 contacts, I suppose. I don't dislike it particularly, but I think from a nostalgic point of view, I would have to say my favourite digital mode is packet radio, back from the good old days, because it was very cool and very, very interesting. And in particular, my interest in packet radio was around space objects, and I believe I was the first person in Australia to actually have a QSA on packet through the International Space Station when that repeater went live.
Yep. Okay.
With a guy on VK2.
I love it.
And that was because they put the TNC on the space station, turned it on, and it didn't work. And eventually some clever guy in the mailing list as we had back then, decided that maybe the BIOS battery got flat, so we got the same model from the store, pulled the BIOS battery out and had a look at what its behaviour was, and went, oh, this is the default thing, it's a parrot repeater, and if you use the call no call, it will just parrot back. So and indeed it did. Unfortunately, the packet radio program that I was using on my Windows 3.1 computer at the time was clever enough to realise that wasn't a valid call, so it wouldn't let me do it. So I had to download a DOS program that was a bit dumber and just let me use no call. So, and I had lots of contacts through that. That was very cool. So I have fond memories of that. so it is my favourite. My least favourite would have to be CW. And my reason for that is because sometime after Christmas Eve on 1906, and of course, I believe that's when the first voice transmission occurred, as in not CW. The people, the elders, the forefathers of the hobby decided that it was secondary, and so CW got all the good parts of the band. So I dislike it for that reason.
They used to call it ICW in 1906.
ICW.
Because it was intermittent CW, which is the sparks at the end and start of the...
And you do see that every so often.
Yeah.
You do see it still referred to.
Okay.
Because I had to look it up. I didn't know what it was. So...
I wouldn't have known.
Just, yeah. Okay. Cool. Fantastic. Thanks, Murray. Who's next? Richard.
A little bit the same as Murray. I played with the satellite stuff in the early days, and I think I had the first 9600 board contact through USAT3 with Graham VK5AGR. We built the G3RUH modems, and unlike most of the other stuff where you can hear the modulation, 9600, the white noise just changes pitch ever so slightly. And of course the Doppler shift on 400 meg, on 430 megs was quite significant, so you had to follow that. So you're trying to tune and listen for a different sounding white noise. And it was all like, this is what just sounds like noise. Oh, hang on, there's my call sign. So you just connect VK5AGR via USAT3, it kind of says connected, and then you can just go, hello world, which was pretty cool. The other one of the satellites used a modulation called BPSK, which was Fuji Oscar 12, and we built a modem for that, which did frequency tracking by toggling the up and down buttons on your microphone. So it would basically have like a little comparator, and as soon as it got too far out, it would just go, down. So you'd hear the Doppler as the thing had a 1200 hertz carrier. As the Doppler drifted out, you'd hear it go, boo. So you could actually hear it in the background go, boo, boo, boo. So, the 1200 board. getting a bit more modern. I quite like. Rex introduced me to Joe Taylor's suite when I started sort of down the EME road, and that was QRA64. I had a few contacts with that and listened to the beacon, and then I think after a little while everything gravitated to Q65 because it sort of became a little bit more sensitive, and it I think there's a little bit of a thing now between Q65 and JT65 that it's sort of, I think Joe wants people to use Q65, but a lot of people are sort of nostalgic and want to keep using the other, and they're all about. But I've used Q65 with some pretty good success on 10 gigs. FT8, I sort of quite like it. It's a bit of a funny thing. You sort of, a lot of people say, oh, you're not really having a contact, your computer's talking to their computer. But like a lot of people have said, you can gauge what propagation's doing. You can start to learn when different bands are open to different parts of the world, and you can sort of then, But I think it's if you want to play radio and there's not much happening on voice, there's always something on FT8. Like, before I came here tonight, I sat down and listened on 18 megs and worked 40 people. As soon as I tried to work some guy, I went, "Oh, a VK7, nice." So they just all came up red, and you just have a little notepad. And you just go, "Yep." You just go, "He was first, he was second, he was third," and it's quite fun. Also played with like weather facts, which is maybe not a digital mode, but sort of the old shortwave sort of decoding weather sort of pictures as WeFax, but I don't really have a mode that I would say I don't like, even though Harry maybe thinks I don't like DMR. But, I think it has its good things. Probably CW is something that I've really not been able to learn, probably like Rex. I tried it a few times and struggled a lot, but now having played a bit of EME where a lot of the guys are doing it, and some of the contests are non-digital. In fact, there's quite a few of the stalwarts in the EME community that you ask them if they're QRV and they go, only CW. You go, okay.
Well, it is technically digital. It's on or off.
Oh, well, yeah. No, so I don't really have a mode that I'd say I hate. I probably struggled to learn CW. I know Hayden and I had a couple of CW contacts on 2.4 gigs, and they were pretty ordinary. But yeah, I think it's a matter of just picking the mode that sort of does what you want. There's like heaps of different modes that can sort of fill your night's entertainment.
Okay.
So I don't really have one that I would say I hate. That's probably a bit harsh.
Hayden's asked a good question. What's the next mode you would like to try? That's a good segue.
I don't know. Maybe Joe Taylor's developing it right now.
I'll take that.
I've got one for that when we get back to it.
Okay.
I think, as Rex alluded, well, obviously we played with the light, which was a completely different medium, even though it is radio sort of.
Electromagnetic waves.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just really, really high frequency ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I say, photons are fake anyway. It's all electromagnetic waves.
Oh, right, sure. Okay, who's next? Murray.
I'd just like to correct something I
Refrost.
said earlier, around 1906. Apparently, during just having a quick look on Wikipedia here, I'd just like to correct that statement. Reginald Fessenden actually made it in 1900.
Oh, right.
1906 was the first time he managed to transmit music.
Oh,
Just,
right. Okay.
Which is
It's all
what stuck in
downhill
my...
from there.
Hey?
It was all downhill from there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, who's next? Who wants to have a go? Come on.
I haven't played with any digital modes yet, but that sounds like FT8 might be one. What's this Olivia one I've heard mention of?
Well, it's keyboard to keyboard chat basically. Yeah, ask me to explain it.
So that's the thing with digital mode when you're doing keyboard to keyboard chat. you have to be able to actually type. And I don't mean two fingers and a couple of thumbs like I do it,
Touch type.
but you need to have some kind of speed, which you don't think so?
Well, I'm only a 4-finger typer.
Well, that's more than I have.
And I have, I think the longest QSO I've had's probably been 45 minutes to a guy in New Zealand.
That's because you're a 4-finger typer.
Is there a backspace in Rich? Is there a backspace in
Steve
Rich?
does, yeah.
Sorry.
Double the board rate of Steve does.
But I've discovered with Olivia, you can use certain bandwidths like 250, 500, 1500 if you really, really want to annoy other people.
Yeah.
The smaller ones are slower anyway. I don't know whether it's just because it's a smaller bandwidth or it's just the way it works.
Slower.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's one that I use on HF all the time.
Yeah.
But there are, I think you can go up to 2500, I think it's high, but that's mainly if you was doing it on FM.
Yep.
Up on
Yep,
2
fair enough.
meters or something. Yeah. But yeah, it's just it's like using your mobile phone to send a message to somebody.
It's like 50 board Ritty, but it's quiet.
It's not quiet when you forget to turn the volume down on the radio and the missus says it. What the hell are you looking at?
And can I just say, taking up Richard's point, Richard was talking about like BPSK, and there was, you mentioned, and we had a separate modem for it. There was separate hardware for it. And if you went to 9600 with an MFJ modem, oh my God, there was a daughter board that you had to build to put in there, because I've got the daughter board, never built it, never put it in there. But these days, most of that is done
Software.
in software. So you have multi-FSK and a whole lot of range of other programs and whatever else that can do all these modes all in the same application.
They did try to bring out a device, AEA, that made like a lot of TNCs. They brought out a thing called a DSP device, which used a couple of DSP chips, and the concept was that when a new mode comes out, you just get someone to write the app for that and download it into the thing and it worked.
Not spot on. They were
Problem
ahead
is
of their
that
time.
but nobody did. Like there was a few people wrote like Ritty and a few bits and pieces for it, but they never ever actually, it sort of never really took off. The concept was great.
But way ahead of its time.
But yeah, but it
Well,
just
true.
never really sort of took off. But now it's actually happening, but it's happening at a much higher level, like with much cheaper DSP sort of technology.
Well, and the digital interfaces, so you plug into your USB port and your connection to your radio is digital, and you've got half of what we used to agonise over solved.
Ham Radio Deluxe is a good one because it's got most of them. And then you've got FL Digi, which is a freebie, so Ham Radio Deluxe you have to pay for. But FL Digi's got most of what Ham Radio Deluxe has got, and it works just as well.
Colin and VK also put in here WinLink, use WinLink with Vera HF.
Yep.
I assume he's a Yachty, maybe. Dave Simpson, after 28 years of being out of radio, next mode to get into CW and back up to speed, Hayden. So there you go. And Colin also a DSC, which is digital selective calling. On VHF Marine is useful, request positions, call to boat channels, auto channels, etc. Matt, MAT, has been playing with POCSAG. Now, that's pager protocol. A little bit via DAPNet, which is Decentralized Amateur Paging Network, which will TX from my node to the pager on 70 centimetres. So we've got our own pager network. What could possibly go wrong?
Goody.
Well, you two can have pager interference at the bottom, at the top of 2 metres.
The 90s call, they want the technology back.
I love it.
Just thinking, Justin, there was one more mode that I to add to the satellite one was the original when I started playing with AMSAT Oscar 10. The beacon on that was 400 BPSK, 400 board BPSK.
Okay.
And that was a really resilient method of receiving telemetry, because the spacecraft was spin stabilised, but it used to tumble a bit.
Yep.
You would get like wicked fades, and it would still pull data out. Like you would be trying to capture there was different blocks that had some were message blocks and some telemetry blocks, and you'd hear it, and your sync light would be on, and you think, oh, and it would drop into the noise, and the sync light would stay on, and then you would get a decode, and it's like, really?
How's that work?
Yeah.
Like when it goes down behind it's telling you it's gone down below the horizon, but you're still receiving signal.
Yeah, Dips had to guys that write that sort of stuff. Like it's just,
Okay, who's next?
I'll go. I haven't done a great deal with digital, but I'm going to say the bad word again, DMR. DMR I like, because it's, despite the fact it's a bit of a pig to set up, once it's set up, it's there, it's fine. Yes, the sound like someone's underwater, but one thing, not sure it's appropriate way to call it digital modes, but I use Echolink and IRLP a bit to keep in touch with the UK now and again. I've got a friend in Cornwall who we dial the IRLP notes together now and again. Not very often. There's normally some stupid clock in the morning. But also jump into an Echolink conference now and again. There's one up in Central Coast that's running obviously on RF as well, and Echolink. So I like them simply because they're very easy. And even if you can't get a decent aerial or antenna rather, you can at least get some sort of connection via Echolink, via the internet. I like the fact that we're using that combination of technologies. The other thing I like is, because I'm a space nerd, is SSTV, because it was used on the moon for some of the original moon transmissions and the moon landings. It was used as a backup when the primary feed couldn't get to the
Couldn't give them fast TV.
yeah, pretty much,
Fast
yeah,
scan TV.
yeah. So they had slow scan TV, and it was and we're still using the same technology nowadays. I think it's fantastic, and that's me done.
Thanks, Lee. Oh, well, least.
Least favourite. Least favourite is slow scan TV when it's not behaving, when I can't get the coupling to work properly, and I'm using words that most people would find offensive on
That's
here.
not the mode's fault.
Sorry.
Good
No, it's not the mode's fault, but I've got nothing else to blame. So
Don't they say that's operator error, not interface error?
it's PEDCAG. Yeah.
Yeah, so, keyboard interface error.
Yeah. ID10T error. Yeah.
Okay.
I will mention another mode I'm sort of on the fence with, and that's POC, pushover carrier. We use that at work. Motorola TLK 100s and TLK 150s. They work providing you've got phone coverage or you've got a Wi-Fi connection, which I don't really like, especially on the commercial side, because you're relying for that service to work really well. And if you're, say, down at Dodgers or in the middle of somewhere where you've got no phone reception, it's basically a radio just sitting there, doesn't work, can't do anything. It keeps telling you you've got no reception, which you already know that because you can see the little bars at the top of the screen. Yeah, that's another mode I thought I'll mention as well. It's good when it works, but if you're in a spot where it's little to no phone or Wi-Fi reception, it doesn't work, and that I don't really like. That's just my point on POC as well.
Okay. Cool. Thanks, Eric. Who's next? Ron.
Well, I haven't had enough experience with the digital modes apart from playing around with the ADX boards that we built. So I did a little bit of FT8 on that. That was my first introduction to FT8. But so I don't have one that I don't like, but a mode that I've been mucking around with Raspberry Pis and doing antenna testing and stuff is Whisper. Mm-hmm. So I find that'd have to be my favourite one, because I've been mucking around, changing antennas around, and just let that run for a couple of days and just see if you've got improvements or if it's any worse. So that's really about all the experience I've had with it.
And I'll back you up here, Ron. My favourite mode is Whisper, and for the purposes of testing antennas,
Yes, that's what I use it
If you build an antenna, put it on Whisper for a week or two.
for. You program all the bands in it, and the band hops and
That's right.
gives you a big picture of what
And you
it's
can
doing.
pull the data out of the database and then analyse that
Yes.
over time.
Yeah.
So the mode coupled with the database, so WhisperNet, is just an immeasurable source of knowledge. So it's good.
And there's Whisper 2 and Whisper 15, 30. 15 minutes, I think. So you can do a really long one, but that's for like 630 metres stuff
Correct.
and things like
And 2200 metres.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to-
that. Long transmission.
Cool. Okay. Thanks, Ron. Mate. Good. Next.
Xavi.
I just mentioned.
Must have been headlights.
Yeah.
It's a bad possibility.
I was just going to say, when you talked about Whisper for LF, there is FST8 which is a Whisper mode designed for the low frequencies and is more sensitive than even the 15.
That's reasonably new, isn't it? That one.
Uh,
Not as old as originally Whisper was it?
oh no, it's been around for 5 years.
Minus 45.
Yeah.
Gee.
Yes.
No chat here.
Yes.
What's the transmission time on that?
1800 seconds.
That's 1800 seconds. And the
Yeah.
bandwidth's 0.36 of a hertz.
Yeah.
That's big.
Now,
That's
your equipment's got to be absolutely stable for half an hour to within, because there's 4 tones, to within about 0.1 of a hertz.
Wow. So no unlock 9700s.
Well, but you're already down at 630 metres, so or even 2,200, so stability should be better.
Okay, thanks, Rex.
I've got a couple more comments.
Yeah, go. Go.
So talking about digital voice modes, a couple were mentioned. My favourite is AllStar Link. People say that's not a digital voice mode, but it is. It's just got D to A and A to D converters on each end. Murray was talking about packet radio and stuff like that. I'm a little bit nostalgic, even though I didn't really grow up, or even though I was like really young in those sort of days. But one of the things someone mentioned about APRS, one of the things I want to play around with is APRS on something else that's not 2 metres. So APRS on 10 metres, because we've got an FM portion of the 10 metre band that we could run APRS on, rather than sideband. So we could run 1200 baud on 10 metres. 6 metres, that would be interesting. And with SDRs now, we could run an SDR on those bands and pipe that into iGates. So you got an easy receive APRS station. It's just the trackers that are a little bit of an issue. You got to find a radio that does 10 or 6 metres FM that you can hook up to a tracker. And 70 centimetres, 9600 would be cool to play around with again, with VARA. So WinLink and everything else. So you could up the throughput and play with VARA FM on 70 and any of those other bands as well. So they're probably the next few that I want to play with.
Okay. Joe Gilston and his brother, when they went through the Simpson Desert, had APRS on 10 metres. I remember that.
It wasn't 10. It's 10 megs.
Oh, sorry, 10 metres.
30 metres, yeah.
30 metres.
But that's 300 baud and...
Because I remember watching them.
Yeah.
As they travelled through the Simpson Desert.
The problem with when you get onto HF, you can't really have, well, even 6 metres, I suppose, you can't really have digipeaters because all of a sudden a wide network becomes very, very wide, and it could get very busy very quickly. But if you had a lot of receive-only iGates...
You could limit the number of hops.
Yeah,
You could just have a single hop.
Yeah, so on HF they recommend wide 1-1, which is just a single hop for digying, rather than 2 or 3, because they could cover the globe pretty quickly. Yeah, I was looking at the 10-metre band plan, and there's no APRS channel, but there's lots of room on FM there, so there's no reason why you couldn't do it. Same reason why they use FM on 80 metres sometimes and play with that. That's pretty cool.
I was playing with APRS over LoRa on 70 centimetres, and that, I mean, that the benefit of with the LoRa stuff is it is so cheap. Like for $40 you buy a little thing with a built-in GPS chip on it, and and you know the LoRa stuff, it just goes forever. Like it's so far.
Was that for your SOTA?
Coverage. Sorry,
you were doing your SOTA stuff.
Yeah.
So you could send your spot out when you're on the.
Yeah. But you know, because your iGate is a little $50 board, and your tracker that you take with you is a $50. Just a little Helltech board, and so it's amazingly cheap. And because it's using LoRa as the it's not the protocol, as the mode, it's just such long range coverage.
And then did you use then? Because I remember you talking about it, but I don't remember what you did. Did you have you had like a digipeater in your car that would use like 70 or 2 meters as the backhaul back into the APRS network?
That's right. Yeah. So I had my iGate, which was just connected as a link to my 2 meter radio, which then went to our local APRS iGate on the mountain or wherever it would have gone. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So is that just a text string or something in LoRa that you would send through, like, with the correct string that you need for...
So it's encapsulating it in LoRa as the transport, effectively.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the... LoRa's pretty low baud rate. How did you go with converting the baud rates?
No, I wasn't converting baud rate.
Because it's AFSK.
Sure, you just did store and forward.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Because APRS is AFSK, I'm thinking of like the tones and everything. How did you...
Talk to me afterwards.
Yeah, okay.
It worked.
Yeah, okay.
And then it was such a faff because I had stuff that was going through. And it was on seats in the car, so that's not the sort of thing that could be set up. And I never got to a permanent install, so it's all decommissioned. I'll have to figure it out again.
There's that temporary word again.
Yeah.
Anything up to 15 years.
Colin in VK asks people, following on from our digital voice discussion earlier, what do people think the clearest to listen to digital voice mode is?
AllStar.
His favourite is C4 FM and P25, which he uses in a non-ham environment. So, but yeah, okay. AllStar. Any other?
DMR if you're a fish.
I would probably go down. It depends on what radio you've got and how you've got that setting. Some operators, like I'm listening to DMR all the time, some operators come in absolutely beautiful audio. They've got their volume set just right. They know how they've set their radio up, which is fantastic. You've got other operators that have their mic gains up a bit too loud, and that they may not even notice it. Sometimes they have their mic gains down too low, just a bit. It all depends on how you have that radio set up, but usually any mode, it just depends on the setup, I find, and the overall use of the system as well.
I think also with DMR as well, it also depends how they're using it. If they're using it through a gateway, their local gateway, if they're using it through a repeater. If you go and say a couple of Ks to a repeater, then of course you can get bad audio. It's just going to drop the rate down. But I've noticed that some, if they're close to the local repeater, they're fantastic. If they're far away from it, that's when you get the fish tank. So
That's when you need your hotspot.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, hotspot. That's what I couldn't think of. Yeah.
How do you accurately set your audio levels on DMR and gain levels?
You can do it
Because on frequency modulation analog radios, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
You can do it via CPS, or you can do it within the radio setting itself.
Yeah. There's actually.
Yeah, but you can set it, but how do you know that you're at the
Oh.
right and correct level? Because when you're transmitting a digital stream, it doesn't. You can crank the mic gain right up. It doesn't really matter. You're modulating a single signal.
I tend to use Parrot.
Yeah,
Parrot
and just listen to yourself.
and listen to myself and go okay.
And how do you know that their end's correct?
Well, you got to trust
What you're
one
saying,
man.
Abe, is you can't put it on the test set and see the signal.
Well, no, you can't
Yeah.
unless you decode it out.
Yeah.
But then you need a standard to know.
But then you're only
So
once you decode it out, all you can look is the actual audio anyway.
That's
you can't
right.
look at
Which
the
you
RF.
don't really. There's no calibration standard.
I was actually going to add to that.
because your receiver could be different.
You could actually put it on a test set because you can't see the
No.
audio, but you can see the transmission.
Yeah, but it's digital.
You won't be able to see the audio
won't be able to.
encapsulated inside.
It's encapsulated like digital
One's the
signals.
zeros.
It's going to be.
All you'll
No,
see
you'll be able to
is
see
packets.
if you if you're drawing that data
Your
stream too
RF
hard and
levels is
actually.
about all
No,
I can see.
still
Because like if you
one
crank
zero
up the gain
string,
and you're clipping,
data rate's the same.
obviously you're too loud.
Yeah,
But
I
hopefully
suppose.
you'll get that from the Parrot.
Would you get
Yeah.
more harmonics and bandwidth if you're over modulating it?
No, because
Digital.
it's
No,
digital.
it's digital.
So frequency modulation, you could get that.
My advice for that would be to have another handheld or scanner that will be able to replay that transmission, or parrot, or have someone else working with you to adjust the settings.
My point is though that there's no standard though, because
No.
if you use someone else's radio, how do you know that like their audio is not cranked right up on the receive side?
I can see where you're coming from. Again,
No, it's a genuine question. That's what I mean. I'm trying to understand how you said audio levels.
I know if you talk to Scott, like his contention is that the problem with digital radio in the amateur world is it's just cheap equipment with bad implementations.
Yeah, it's bastardised from commercial.
Of digital radio. And so can you imagine in the commercial sector if you get set up my voice, but no one else can use the radio in my car because somebody else talks, it's overdriven.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a fundamental problem with digital radio in the amateur world.
In the commercial space, they would have standards where they can decode the audio and see it on like a spectrum graph or something that's like calibrated to within an inch of its life. But we don't have that facility.
Is the problem just having the mic too close or too far away, or people speaking too loud or not loud enough?
any of those reasons,
Yes.
possibly
Yeah.
plus more
Yeah.
as well.
But when you set an audio level for like an analog FM radio, you set it to a deviation standard. So 3 kilohertz deviation for 1 kilohertz tone, and that's pretty much perfect for voice. But you can't do that with a digital radio. That's where I was coming from. I'd be interested to know what the standard is, because I think we were going to talk about this for a forum night coming up, setting your audio levels on all of your devices. And I'm sure if people have got digital radios, they'd like to set that to a standard, but I mean, I don't know what it is.
It all depends on the radio and who's talking on the radio. Because again, everyone's different. Every device is different. So,
But the way
You can't-
you don't set an audio level standard with a voice. You set an audio level
Yeah.
standard with a tone.
With tone
yeah.
generator.
Yeah. So I'd assume that you could do that.
Tone, that's the problem.
And I think you should make a standard. Publish said standard, and then socialise it that it's always been the standard. People should therefore adhere to
It
it.
probably already is one.
That's the thing with standards, there's so many of them. Yes.
You've only got to look at the television stations to realise that there's no standard anymore.
Well, that's
They're
right.
all over the place.
And radio.
I mean, you could also tell everyone it's the best standard ever written, and and of course it's always been there, and no one else could do a better standard than you. I mean, look, it works for America. So.
And Matt actually makes, we run DMR at work, so he works for Tasrail. And for both data and voice, and it's very hard to tell the difference from other modes. Very different to how DMR sounds at my QTH. So they obviously have standards that they've set it up to. So
I think from an amateur point of view, we don't really have standards because we've set up as a plug and play system. We're not in a commercial sense where we've got we have to stick by these set of standards. That could be another issue as well.
I think what you said as well, the fact that we're not going to be using professional equipment in many cases. We're going to be using stuff that's like by everything or receivers or whatever. Whereas in the commercial space, they could be buying radios that could be worth $3,000-$4,000 for just a HT rather than what we're buying. $300-$400 worth of receivers or whatever. So I think there's that as well.
Cool. Okay. And I'm sure they've got test equipment that
They would have to
enables
be
them to
stuff.
set it up.
yeah. We just don't have access to that.
Correct.
That's a really good point, though.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Any final comments? Because we've just gone over the hour. So
Yeah, I'll make another comment.
yeah.
I wasn't going to bring CW up because to me, who knew?
Hang on a
They
second.
had to
Hang on,
be
hang on. So it was inconceivable to me that no one was going to bring up that CW. So I thought, well, I don't need to bring it up. I can let Hellschrieber be my thing, right? But all we've had is people who say we don't like CW, and I get why. Like, you're not saying it's a rubbish mode. But I thought someone has to stick up for what is actually the best mode amateur radio has to offer until the voice came in, and no wonder we get the best part of the band.
Look, Lance, I agree with you, and I think that CW is probably the most challenging mode for people, but it's become like stylish now. Like when it was a requirement, no one really wanted to do it.
Yeah, I get that.
Whereas everyone loves to do it now.
Yeah.
And
And
they
the
like
thing
to
is,
challenge themselves.
Because they don't have to.
Yeah,
Because they don't have to.
yeah.
But like it, as a, and
I
the
want
reason
to learn CW. I just don't have the time.
the reasons I think that it's amazing, like, is because like there's this hill you have to climb, right? And it's really hard work, and it's hard work for a long time. And I know they say some people just magically seem to get it really quickly, but for most people, I think it's just a lot of effort, and you climb that hill, and then you get to this like plateau, like. Because it's not the summit. Like CW is just the world of false summits. Like you think you're at the summit, and you get to the point where you can actually get on air, and then it takes you 15 minutes just to exchange your call sign, a signal report, and your name with somebody else.
Thought you were going all right, and they just destroy you in the first 30 seconds.
That 15 minutes just to, and you feel like you've summited Everest, right? And then, so you think, that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to be able to do a basic, like, SOTA exchange. And then you go, but hang on a second, people are actually having conversations in this mode. So then that's the next summit. And then you climb again, and you climb with a whole lot of effort, and your speeds increase a bit. And then you get to the next false summit, and you just go, man, like, I'm actually asking people what they've had for breakfast and, this sort of thing. And you think, this is amazing. It's taken me half an hour of a conversation to do that. So when you talk about, Olivia or whatever being a 45-minute, I get it. Like, we exchange nothing over a long period of time. But it feels amazing. And
It's a
you
new
feel like,
language.
yeah, you feel like you're a rock star. And then you decide to dip your toe in some contesting, but we're not talking Australia, like RD contests, like we're talking CW worldwide or something. And these guys are cracking along at 35 words a minute, and you think, this is impossible. But then you spend some time and you climb that next bit of mountain, and suddenly you're decoding stuff at 35 words a minute, like just contest exchanges, like granted. And you feel like beyond a rock star. And so I think if people...
And then you try and work GN and you realise...
But so I just think it's a mode of excruciating challenge, but holy smokes, the rewards when you get to those false summits.
Yep.
Yeah,
There was,
I just think it's wonderful.
I was talking to John VK7JB about CW because he's a big CW operator, and I asked him. I said, "When was the time you knew you got it? Like you reached the point where you knew you got CW?" And he said he did a lot of listening in his time, like not a lot of transmitting, but a lot of listening. And he was sitting there one day at the desk, he said, and he's like just like doing something on the bench with the CW just running in the background. And he found himself he started laughing because he heard a joke that someone had made on the radio on CW. And then he was just like, I got that. I understand it. And then that's when he knew I got CW. So he's like, it was just like second nature. Like he didn't even think about it. He wasn't concentrating on listening to it. It just popped into his head. So I guess, I don't know if you've had have you had a moment or something where you're like, I've got it? Or
I think it's when when you're going through the point of having to concentrate so hard on every letter, and as your speeds increase, like there's less space before you can get the next letter. And then, like for me, it was that point of I'm not having to concentrate anymore. It's just like this flow of consciousness, like it's just running through my head. And I think I was saying before to Ron, the biggest hurdle for me was when you miss like you're always missing bits. Like when I'm talking to you, like you might miss a syllable or something, but you just keep going. You don't stop and agonize over that syllable. And it's the same with CW. It's so hard when a letter or something doesn't click, not to focus on what was that, because then it's just gone and then you've lost your whole track. To be able to just let that missing letter just go.
That's the skill.
And it's not, it's a skill. It's not a willpower thing. No. Like it's actually, you've got to train yourself to just ignore.
Do you write it down, or you just listen to it?
No, just everything in
I think they tell you not to do that, don't
Correct.
they?
Head copy.
Yeah, so I never...
Head copy is where you need to be.
Yeah, I never started writing down because it's just, you just can't write fast enough. Yeah. And it's easier if you can just sit back and close your eyes and just listen. Anyway. But
that's when you knew you're the one, Neo.
That's right. Anyway, so it was at that point where I wasn't having to agonise over letters, like the words just flowing through, which is great.
I can remember back in high school days trying to comprehend what the heck was being said in an Elizabethan play or something like that. And I'd ask you to listen to a passage and feedback what was being said. I had no hope in hell of getting the gist of it, because I would hear a word and say, oh, I recognise that, and miss the next word afterwards. Mm-hmm. And yet, I can take a piece of legalese that other people might throw in the waste bin because they can't understand it. And I can break it down as the whereases, where to's and all the rest of it and make sense of it. No trouble at all. And other people can't do it. Mm. So it's crazy.
I started describing this to my wife, who's a musician, professional musician. And it's, where we landed was, it's the interpretation layer. Mm. So when you play music, you're looking at the notes on the score, or you're improvising, and there is an interpretation layer that goes on for, medium level experienced musicians, and they interpret that and they play it on the instrument that they're playing it on. Professional musicians, there's no interpretation layer. You look at that, look at the score, and you intuitively just do it. And that's how she described, that's where I'm trying to get to with CW. Exclude the interpretation layer, because as soon as you're thinking about it and you're trying to interpret what I've just heard, or you go, oh, I didn't know what that was, and you've missed the next three characters. It's getting over that, getting rid of that interpretation layer.
And
I'm not there yet. I'm just say that.
The other thing I think which was key is, like, you just with what Rex said when he got on, like the failure is just such a high. Like you just fail and fail and fail, and like I think new CW operators experience more QRM than anyone else, or QSB, because it isn't really. You just basically get so embarrassed that you've lost your train of thought that you just go QSB, sorry, 73, right? And so because you just go on. And you might get like 30 seconds your first couple of times, and then your brain goes to mush, and then and it is so embarrassing. And every time you go on, you just fail, and you just have to get over yourself with failing.
So you're saying I think you really need to learn how to type that QSB 73.
I must say, CW operators are just so patient, and I've never had anyone be grumpy with me, and whether that's other Australian operators, or you've tried to up your game and you trying to respond to someone from France or the Czech Republic or something who's going like really fast, and you go slow to them, and when they realise that you're struggling, like everyone to a T for me has just been really accommodating, and they'll just slow down for you, and The issue is never the other people. The issue is always your own embarrassment at what's going on.
Because they've been there
Yeah.
at some stage.
Correct.
So,
They just can't remember.
Justin, I'm interested in your comment around the interpretation layer because it just sort of sounded to me like a conversation I had with, and just to be clear, I don't do CW. A friend of mine who's from Germany and who speaks very fluent Australian, as a, you know, like colloquialisms a whole lot. And I was
In
talking
a German accent?
Sometimes.
Ah,
It's
okay.
only some words, mostly
Right.
Australian accent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said to her, I said, how did you get to be like so good? Now the answer was she came out here when she was 15, went to school out here, which helps. But the thing that she said was, she goes, you don't get good at it until you stop thinking in German. The translation layer that you just talked about, you get rid of that.
No, correct.
And all of a sudden, it's just as soon as you start thinking in English when you're talking.
And music's another language. CW is another language.
Yeah.
But that layer disappears, and it's when that layer disappears that I think you've reached that one of those false peaks. I have to say false peaks, because then the next contact you listen to, they're going at 40 words a minute. You just go, oh my god. But no. But it's spot on, and language is the same thing. Helen's good at languages as well. She's good at languages. She's good at music. Got the wiring.
She's switched
right
on.
way. But anyway, no. But it's. I agree with Hayden. I think the CW operators have all had to go through that, and so there's some empathy when they come across someone who's trying to learn. So.
So is that the case of natural selection? Those that can.
Well,
I've heard of people though that have thought that they'd never ever be able to do CW, and they have. It's taken them a long time. I think I could never do CW, but I'm sure if I applied myself, I could.
Well and truly. And that's a little bit about the CW Ops courses. There is it's a set learning structure. It's a set syllabus. And if you stick to it, you'll get there. Well and truly. So,
Well, I've registered for the September, October CW Ops course, and I've been doing a bit of practice on apps on the phone. But now, as I'm driving along, I'm decoding number plates.
Good.
Yeah.
Spot on.
So I look at a number plate and work it out in CW.
You should be watching the road,
Yeah.
Here's another challenge: when you're driving around town, just start sending Morse on your horn.
No, Hayden, it's funny you say that because I've said to a few colleagues at work, I kind of want me and my colleagues to learn CW, so we can annoy this certain work colleague just by using the horn as Morse code. She would get very annoyed very quickly.
All right.
Did you get some clear winners in the?
Oh, FT8, I think, appears. We have quite a broad range, which is, and can I just say FT8 is in both columns.
I think everything was in both columns.
Well and truly. Was there a clear winner? I'm not sure there is, actually.
Yeah. Digital radio.
Oh.
That's,
Well,
just
digital
the,
modes.
that's just the winner.
Yeah.
And also the loser, because it's killing amateur radio.
Oh.
I thought that was FT8.
No, it was CW. It's SSB, sorry.
SSB.
There's a photo that I've...
It would have been AM, not SSB.
Well, there's a photo on social media where it's someone has got like bumper stickers back from like whenever SSB came about, was popular. And it's like SSB no, SSB to kill, radio, CW yes, and all this other stuff.
No team, stadium yes. Oh, sorry. All right. Any final comments, and we'll wrap it up at that. That's no. Okay. Well, thank you. That was a good discussion, and thank you to all our people online who put comments in the chat. I hope we passed them all on.
I think we had about 40 at peak that was online, so there were a few people watching and contributing, so fantastic. So good stuff. All right, thank you very much, and keep an eye on your email because there are some changes to our presentations in August again. Can I just say, so there's an email about to go out to everyone and some communication. So we've had to move things around again. So anyway, thanks very much.
Thanks, Justin.
Catch you all.
Thank you.
Cheers.